Okay. All right, people, let's settle down, please. Our test will be this Friday. And then the next week is the week before spring break. And also next Friday the 9th is end of the grading period. We'll have a project that will look at ancient India or ancient China. That will be what we'll end up with. Yes.
Next Thursday and Friday, I'm going to see family. I will be here Thursday and Friday, so can I do it online? Would there be like something?
Yes. Thanks for telling all of us. I appreciate it. Yep.
I'll just let you know.
Everything will be there for you to get finished with. Okay. All right. Thanks for telling me. All right. Our last section is Judaism. This will be a topic where we will begin the discussion of a group of people who believe in only one God and the persecution of these people who believe in only one God because of the thought that it is the obligation of everyone in our civilization to worship all those gods, so they smile down upon us. So when we have a group of people that won't do that, we need to get them and push them back out of our civilizations or put them in places where they can be controlled. So the roots of Judaism, these are the ancient Israelites or Hebrews, and they established the first monotheistic religion, meaning they believe in only one God. They believe in one all-knowing, powerful God present everywhere. So these people don't believe in a sun god. They don't believe in a river god. They don't believe in the god of the moon. They believe in one God who was present everywhere. And these Hebrews, again, will be our first monotheistic. So there's another vocab, mono meaning one. They believe in only one God. And this belief will be what persecutes them or causes them to be persecuted across all of these ancient civilizations, except for one person. And who was that one person? Somebody say it. Starts with a C. He's the great. Someone's whispering it. Cyrus. You have to say it loud so I can hear. Cyrus is the only one that did not persecute them, right? He allowed them to go back to their home country. All right. In their view, each event in history represented part of God's plan for the people of Israel. All of these events and laws were recorded in the Torah, the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, which is their sacred text. It is also, for those of you familiar, it is also the first 5 books of the Christian holy or sacred text: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. It's the same, exactly the same. The Torah is the sacred text of Judaism. That is a test question. The sacred text is the idea of where the foundation of the belief system of Judaism is found, and it's called the Torah. And it's made up of the first 5 books, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. All right, so the Bible says Moses renewed the Israelites' covenant with God, and that covenant, again, is a promise. So for those of you that, again, perhaps think, why am I learning about Moses in Mrs. Norris's world history class? It's because Moses was a real person. And we will talk about Moses in the sense of what happened to them, but not perhaps some of the other stories surrounding Moses that you might hear in a house of worship. What we talk about these biblical people are what can be proven by historical facts. And historical facts prove that Moses led people out of Egypt, led them into Canaan. They were enslaved in Egypt, and they were persecuted in Egypt. And as according to the book of Exodus, Moses told Jews that God was rewarding their faithful obedience. If they follow him into this idea of finding the promised land in this place that eventually is going to be Israel. He led them out of Egypt, and for 40 years they roamed the deserts in and around that area. Around 1000 BCE, King David unified the 12 feuding Jewish tribes and will establish the country of Israel. That is a test question. Who establishes Israel? It's King David. David's temple, the temple that was built for David by his son Solomon, is always constantly under excavation in Israel. So his son, King Solomon, sought to build in Jerusalem this impressive capital of the country of Israel. And so much like Cyrus's son Darius, King David's son Solomon says, I'm going to make this even better than what my father built. So Solomon is going to complete a temple dedicated to God that was begun by David. He becomes famous for his wisdom and his understanding. Solomon, again, was very much revered by the people of Israel. He negotiated with powerful empires in Egypt and Mesopotamia. And as what has happened in our other civilizations, when that second powerful son dies, bad things are going to happen in Israel. Southern Israel will split off and become Judah. And in the middle of all of these things, other empires, again, are looking to Israel for their wealth. And southern Israel is going to split. And then I'll come back to this one if you need it. This timeline here is not a test question. I never ask you dates except when we get to Rome. Because that's not necessary to know. But it is, I think, because we've been studying all these different people at the same time, I think it is kind of important to look at all these dates. In 722, the Assyrians are going to capture Israel. In 589, Babylon's going to capture Judea. In 539, Persia frees the Israelites. That's Cyrus. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon had forced many into exile and destroyed the temple during the time called the Babylonian captivity. King Nebuchadnezzar is the one that's going to destroy David's temple. And those dates, again, are not what is necessary. It's just the other side of those dates showing the persecution of these groups of people and how these early civilizations, bless you, these early civilizations dealt with the people of Israel, and more importantly, the people who believed in only one God. Judaism focused on law and morality. So those of you that perhaps might be familiar with those books of those first 5 books of the Old Testament in the Christian sacred text, it is the books that say all these things about what you should and should not do. One of them for the Israelites is this idea of cleanliness. And if any of you know anything about Judaism or Jewish people, it's often the fact that there's certain foods that they don't eat. They don't eat any pork at all. No pork. And it's because if you look at those first 5 books, and I think it's Deuteronomy, talks about eating food from an animal with a cloven hoof, and that would be a pig. And so they follow that dietary restriction. It's called being kosher. If you look, those of you the next time that you're grocery shopping with anyone, if you look in and around like packaged meat, especially things like hot dogs, you can look and find hot dogs that are kosher, which means they're hot dogs without any pork. So for those of you that particularly don't like pork, you can always find those and find hot dogs that don't have pork. It also has to do with keeping dishes separate. And I'm not familiar with this one, but they also don't eat shellfish, lobster, any of those things. And there's also something with serving dairy with other foods. So if you're keeping a kosher household, if you're Jewish and you're keeping a kosher household, you have two sets of dishes, two complete sets of dishes, one for serving of something and one serving the other. Moral principles, very much again found in those first 5 books of the Bible. The Israelite society is patriarchal, meaning it is headed by the oldest male in the family. The oldest male was the head of the household. He arranged marriages for all of his daughters. These were arranged marriages without any input, typically from the daughters. And Judaism taught an ethical worldview, morality guided by the other part that comes from Moses is the 10 Commandments. And those 10 Commandments, of which 4 outline religious duties, such as reserving a holy day for rest and worship. They also outline behavior toward others. Honor your mother and father, and you shall not kill. And spiritual leaders such as Isaiah and Jeremiah periodically emerged. They are prophets, and they again teach this strong code of moral ethics, personal behaviors. They urge civil justice, teaching that all people were equal before God. And I would again draw a box around this one because this is another reason that many of the Israelites were persecuted, in this idea of all people were equal before God. So if you are looking at some of those societies where the Pharaoh is considered a god, or those priestess and priests who had a higher social standing, that also makes these people undesirable to have in your civilization, that they believe that people are equal and should be treated that way. The rich and powerful are called upon to protect the weak, instead of the rich and powerful lording and presiding over. They are required to protect the weak. And in this, again, aspect, these people are not very desired in these other civilizations where we have social hierarchies based on certain people being better or having better standards of living than others. So there are a multitude of reasons why the Hebrews or the Israelites continue to be pushed out and away from our other civilizations. Unlike other ancient society, the Jews saw their leaders as human and equally bound by all of God's laws. For 500 years, Jews are spread throughout the empire that controlled their land. So that was another thing that will happen, is that instead of allowing Jews to all move back to one place where they can be strong, have a country, they were spread all throughout these empires. And so that there were small groups of Hebrews or Jews instead of large groups of people that could form countries and be powerful. And our last slide for this incredibly long chapter in that gigantic, thick packet of notes is during this diaspora. And again, this is a vocab word. I hope it printed bold in your notes, or is that the word you have to write down? Okay, so this is a really important word. And what diaspora means is they're dispersed. That's a really nice kind of word that looks the same and sounds the same. Diaspora meaning disperse. It means we don't want you to be in large groups together. Many remained in small communities, living by their laws and traditions. Many faced persecution, but survived and maintained their faith. And for Jews, It's one of their strong beliefs that they are the chosen people of God. That's what Jews believe. They are the chosen people of God. And their rationale for that is we've been persecuted for thousands of years, and our people and our faith have remained. And in that aspect, it should show that their connection and their belief that they are God's chosen people has validity. Judaism's unique contributions to religious thought heavily influenced the rise of two later monotheistic religions, Islam and Christianity. And that's what we will look at in our next chapter. All right? Any questions about that? All right, so today you have a reading on Deborah, who is a judge. And again, for those of you that are really familiar with the Old Testament, that's in the book of Judges. Is Judges Old Testament or New Testament? Old Testament, Judges. And another prophet that you will be reading about. Please, again, continue to make sure that you're answering your questions in complete sentences. And this is will open up for you in Cami. Please make sure that you don't open that anywhere else. Braden, what do you need me to go back for, hon? Which one? What's it have at the top? You don't? What do you need, Drew?
The one at the end of the Southern Israel Sport off.
That one? Which one? Say it again. What's at the top?
At the top is Solomon completed a temple dedicated to God that was begun by David.
That one?
Yep.
Is that it? Okay.
And then
Anything else? Then one after it? There we go. All right, I did not know that we were going to finish these notes all today. I forgot how short they were. So we are going to test on Thursday. So Thursday will be our test. Wednesday will be test review. I'll give you guys the test review game to play at home. You can play it 3 times. So that will give you that opportunity to see test questions. And then we will test when we come back on Thursday. I will record a quick little maybe 10 minutes reminding you of important topics, potential essay questions. I will tell you that the potential that I think there's like 5, and I say essay, but short answer. So I'll do that on Wednesday. So that will be what Wednesday looks like. Okay? All right. Questions, anyone? All right.